a lot of the people who might view this short will be people who've never had mental illness. If you could just kind of briefly describe what it's like to kind of be in that headspace.
Mental illness, at least for me, and what I've experienced with depression, is like having this black tar of a being constantly follow you and constantly loom over you. I am Liam Wallace. I'm 23 and I was born in Baltimore. I think I was born in Baltimore.
My name is Nathan Rushline. I am 22 years old and I was born in good old Maryland.
Nathan Rushline is one of my best friends.
It was a process and now he's one of my best friends. Just the various things that I can say to him that I can't just say to someone else because he understands where I'm coming from.
He's always helped me with my mental illness. He's always been a good voice of reason and support.
What we do whenever we get together is just, hey, Liam, how was your day? What have you done? What's been going through your mind?
I've got 44 upvotes. Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Throughout the day, I have several thoughts of suicide, constant thoughts of death, constant thoughts of failure. You feel this weight, you feel this sludge in everything you do.
Whenever you do suffer from depression, it's very easy to distance yourself from even the closest people to you. And that can lead to a very dangerous and downward slope.
Talking to my psychiatrist, my depression not only will not go away, but it's only going to get worse with time. And that's horrifying.
Not so much head movement in this one, and then...
Not so much head movement?
Yeah, instead of like turning your head all the way, just kind of like scope with your eyes, and then slowly like turn your head.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
If that makes any sense.
I first kind of realized what mental illness was when I was about 14 years old, and I realized the way my thinking is completely different than a normal human being's. That kind of sparked some thought. Like my first real depressive thoughts and thoughts of suicide were around 8 years old. I think as a culture we have no idea how to talk about mental illness. I think there's a huge stigma around it.
Where it's kind of like, it's not an actual disease. It is. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain, which is an organ. If you have a chemical imbalance in your liver, you go to a doctor, you get it checked out. When you have a chemical imbalance in your brain, it's much more complicated.
It paints the picture that those with mental illness are unstable and dangerous, which most of the time we aren't.
And we're learning more and more about it, but a lot of people that are like, oh, you're not actually sick, just get up out of bed, you can do that. You're wrong. Some cases, you can't.
A little over a year ago, I lost a career-defining job, and I lost a girlfriend of 4 years who I was very codependent on. It was not a good relationship. We're both better off without each other. But I was codependent, and I set up my world around her. So when she left, it put me in a spiral. Not only did she leave, but I lost that job, and I was doing worse in school, and I had to drop out. So my entire life was in the gutter.
System. We crashed.
The worst of the worst was about 6 months ago. I was drunk one night and feeling hopeless and lost, and I attempted suicide. I tried to asphyxiate myself with a plastic bag. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I remember passing out and then waking up with a hole in the bag the next day.
Small world.
Going into it, like, the initial feeling that caused it was just hopelessness. It really boils down to that at the end of the day. It was just I know I'm young, but at the same time, I couldn't fathom things getting better. I couldn't think of any possible way where I'd end up happy. And I just couldn't do it anymore. I wanted out. When I woke up, initially I was disappointed. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning. First thing I did was grab myself a drink, and I smoked a cigarette and started thinking about, all right, I gotta get drunk and try again. That line of thinking was short-lived. Eventually I realized that there's people that care about me, that things can get better. I just need to seek help. So I told my psychiatrist, my therapist, and my mother that I attempted suicide, and I went to Shepherd Pret for the second time.
Zach, if you can get in position.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, you're here too.
With the past year, I was in and out of mental health facilities, so I was interacting a lot with other people with mental health issues. And I don't know, the more I was around those people, the more I realized that I want to help them. I was doing an outpatient therapy stay at the Carroll Hospital. And one day after that, I was driving around and I went to the library to see what it would take to book a room. And next thing I know, I had a room booked for the next 3 months. So I started the Facebook page. I started contacting people that I knew would be interested. I started getting the information. I talked to Nathan to help me out, and it was born.
Not all support groups are as inclusive as ours, and he decided that because he couldn't find one that fit him, why not just start one? And he came to me because I've helped him talk through some issues here and there.
That's one of the reasons why I want him on board, because I know he understands mental illness, and I know he wants to help.
And it was as easy as saying yes.
What are you doing? What are you doing, sir? Please.
Do you want us to fake clean up now?
Yes, I want you to
I am dedicating my life, or at least I'm attempting to, improving the world and improving as many other people's lives as I can.
He's an aspiring social worker, I believe. That's one of the things he wants to do.
I've kind of put a different perspective, a different way of approaching life into play that really kicked in senior year of high school, whenever I had my own medical issues pop up. I do suffer from an autoimmune disorder known as multiple sclerosis. It really widened the horizons of me. It got me thinking more, and it had me accept my mortality. Everyone does die, and no one knows when. So I want to make the most out of every day that I have left, because every day you have, in my opinion, is a gift.
Honestly, I was just looking to get out of the country. And I heard that, Murdoch College in Australia has a good zoology and veterinarian program, so.
I've noticed a lot, I've become a lot more cynical and a lot more darker of a person because of the things that have happened to me. A lot less hopeful. But at the same time, a lot more determined to beat whatever it is, beat this depression.
Do you think you can beat it?
I don't know yet. I really don't. I don't know if I can beat it.
We just have to put back the room to the way it was.
Where are we right now?
We are at Westminster Library.
In Westminster, Maryland.
And what just happened? Like, what were we doing before now?
We just had a support group meeting for the mentally ill and those supporters of it. And now we're done.
Well, not necessarily the supporters of mental illness.
The supporters of the victims, I guess.
There you go.
The Westminster Mental Illness Support Group is a group for those with mental illnesses and supporters of those with mental illnesses.
It is a support group. That is not a therapy group. That is not a therapy session. And it's not a substitute for it.
That's a big one.
Big one. That is very important to note because we're not liable for any of the advice we give you. It's just that. It's advice. It's not a medical professional, go do this. It's really just, I love saying this, peers helping peers.
If someone was too nervous to come and didn't want to speak, I'd tell them they don't have to. I guarantee you some of the stories you'll hear and some of the advice you hear will affect your life in some way, shape, or form. Something someone says every week hits me somewhere and goes, oh, well, I can apply that to what I'm doing here or doing there. And no one's going to judge you. We're all here to get help. We're all here to support each other. That's the whole point.
It's not one of those things where we're here to gossip. We're here to help people. And if you take the parts that are like, this is the advice, go spread the word. Share that. Don't share the stories that people are sharing because they're telling that in confidence.
Hold on, you might be able to hear the train.
Putting it all away. That just adds ambiance.
It's what we in the
once
biz
you get it.
refer to as nat sound.
I hear the train
Natural sound.
rolling.
Yes.
Just making it shorter.
Yes.
Save some time.
Yeah.
I ain't seen sunshine since
All right, let's get
I
it.
don't know when. Cause I shot a man in Reno.
You want a fake shot of us walking out too?
Yes.
Mental illness is a serious issue. It can affect anyone, and in some way it affects everyone. If you don't have a mental illness, someone you know probably does. If you really want to help, talk to your friends.
Don't be afraid to talk about it.
If someone you know is acting differently, reach out to them. Or on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, just post, hey, to any of my friends that are having any trouble, I'm an open ear. I'll sit here, I'll listen.
I implore you to help break the stigma around mental illness one conversation at a time.
You don't need to help people. It's not your obligation to help people through their problems or to take on the world with them or to solve their problems or whatever. It's just be a decent human being and let your friends get some of that weight off their chest by talking. That's the most you can do. And it's the least you can do, and it's the best thing you can do. It's helped me a lot when my friends do that. That's what I have to say about that.